All right. You're up.
Oh, you're
You
fine.
got the gavel, buddy.
It was between us. I didn't let you do it. All right. We'll call this meeting to order for the Clubhouse Advisory Committee.
Okay.
And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can all rise, and the flag's on my right, your left. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, do we have anybody online? Tom, was Tom gonna try to be here in person?
No,
No.
he couldn't make it.
Okay.
He's at work.
So Clay, do you wanna do roll call?
You know what, honestly, I don't have a list in front of me, and I don't know your names well enough to do roll call, to be
Who is
fair.
it?
I could get through some of it, but, I would say, would we go down the line, state your name and say present,
Very good.
for the record?
Present.
Yeah. Bob Travers.
Tony Roos?
Joe Fisher. Present.
So we have a quorum.
And then staff present?
That present includes Clay Downing, Casey Crichton, Julie Peterson, yeah, and I do usually know that. And then Kellen's asking just in the nick of time. Kellen, we got one for you right here. No. This is your committee. I told you he'd go back, you'll have to see back there. And that's all the staff. I will call out that we have a couple of board members more than normal here. So we have Jim McMaster, who, Jim, you're our typical liaison to this committee, correct? Mm-hmm. And then we also have Brandon Slider and Nick Conan here as well. So with that, hand it back to you.
Thank you. All right, we had the meeting minutes from last meeting distributed. Any edits, or can we approve those as distributed?
I move that we accept the minutes as they are
There we go.
from December 8th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second. I'll second.
Joe got you by the skin of the hair there.
Oh, man.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sounds unanimous. Anything on today's agenda that we want to add as an NOA? Not on agenda item, or revisions to what's on there?
We do have two public.
That's coming up next.
Oh, it is?
That's on there. That's number 6. I got them out of order. All right, hearing nothing, we're going to move forward with the agenda as presented, and now we have our public presentation participation. So, right to left, from the audience.
Oh, I'm happy to go second.
You want to go second?
If there's someone else that wants to start, sure.
The gentleman right there.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
have, I just have a question about the intersection there at the golf course. Is there any plan to put an overpass or underpass there to take that stop sign out? Or is that not being
Oh,
considered?
The stop sign between the front 9 and the back 9?
Yeah, I mean, it's 24 hours a day. It's-
Microphone, please.
Could we,
Oh, is there a microphone for this?
sir, could we have you speak at the podium so that folks online can hear you as well?
Name and
Thank you.
where you're located. Your home.
My name is John Globig. I live on Parrot Mountain, and I drive past the golf course every time I come to Newbury, which is, since the stop sign went in and the police monitor that for traffic, vehicular traffic, but not golf course, not golf cart traffic. It's been a real pain in the neck. So what I'm wondering, is there any, if we're gonna have a professional, really first-class golf course there, is there any way that that can be modified such that it's not a 24-hour-a-day, 365-day a year, pouring down rain stop sign? I mean, that's my question. Has it been considered for a possible development?
We might hear something about that tonight, I don't know.
We're happy to do that, and I would turn it back to the CAC too. Do you all plan on taking public questions once the consultant has presented, for the consultant to respond to as well?
I know, we've never had this many people here.
I know. Well, that's why I wanted to ask, so this gentleman, if he has a question or
Yeah.
that influences us, if he's got the
Yeah,
opportunity.
I think we
Okay.
can. We should have time to do
Okay.
that.
I think we
Then,
should.
and what I would say is, on the staff side of things, since my time here and in preparing this, no, we have not considered that. I think that clearly the consultant can hear what you're asking. I don't think that's part of what we would consider the scope of work or the design process that we're doing. Certainly hear that you're asking for it.
Well, that's all. I just want to get that on the table for consideration.
Sure.
Because I understand it would be a very expensive proposition to put one of those in, but still, it would be a real benefit to everybody in the community, for sure, certainly on Parrot Mountain.
Fair. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Name and where I live.
Yes, please.
Steve Paulson, The Greens. Just passed our 10th anniversary living at The Greens. And my question tonight is really directed for the board liaison, Jim McMaster. I don't know if you can answer this. And also with the committee members, if you have any feedback or thought on my question. And my question is this. There's a sentiment around the community that I can speak for, myself included, that believe this clubhouse should have been built many, many years ago. And you can call it a cynical view or just a negative view, but there is a sentiment, again, speaking for myself and several other people that I'm involved with in this community, that believes that this $150,000 feasibility study, I believe it's north of $150,000, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is strictly an item, just part of the process to come back and say to the community that we did the $150,000 feasibility study, but now we can tell the community officially that there's no way this project can be completed. And I just want to know if you have any feedback to that sentiment from others, that people that believe that view, because it's been over 20 years since this should have been done. And I just curious for that. I'll take the question. I'll have a seat, but that's kind of it. This is truly, if this is really a realistic exercise, or if this is strictly just to check a box and it's really never going to happen. Thank you.
So speaking as the chair of the committee, I wouldn't have taken this position if I thought that this was just a pipe dream, never going to happen. There's always hope that something's going to happen, but there was never a known what that cost would be to start budgeting toward. So the first step of the feasibility is it feasible? And yes, not building something is an option if it's not affordable or it's not attainable, but our hope, and I can speak for the whole committee, is that this does continue going forward, and that's the thought behind why we all volunteered, was to help keep this going. If it was just a pipe dream, never gonna happen, the four of us wouldn't have stood up here and spent our time to help get this going off the ground.
Well said.
Jim, do you wanna add anything to that?
No, I mean, the feasibility study is gonna tell us whether it's gonna work or not. That's what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
And from staff, I would say that, we're doing this in good faith to make a responsible decision in the future. It could turn out to not be feasible, but it could turn out that it is feasible. And so we feel that we are operating in good faith, and we hope that there is some level of trust with us, even if there is a community sentiment that it should have happened a long time ago. This is the first step in making a responsible decision, whatever that decision is doing a feasibility study, would be our feeling. But thank you for the question.
Thank you for the feedback.
Anybody else? Now's your time. Okay.
Excellent.
We'll have another question and answer, possibly, it depends on the time that we have available. Okay.
All right, well, we're all here for the fun part, and
Yeah.
Clay, do you wanna introduce the consultant?
Sure, this is Michael Bond. I will let him introduce himself. He's very familiar with our golf course and I don't know what aspects of our community, but I believe he's more familiar with it than most people that we would be privileged to work with. So, Michael, if you'd like to introduce yourself, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you. So, Michael Bond, I'm an architect. I live in Sherwood, Oregon, and our team won the RFP to do the feasibility study. My personal story is that my son was a kind of elite junior golfer, and this became, we're not country club people, so this became his home course. And he is, he went on to play college golf, played 4 years of college golf, and then spent a year assistant coach at his university, at Division I school, and is now back in town and worked under Kellen for the summer, for, I don't know, maybe his third summer or something, and now he's got his big boy job. So he's not golfing as much as he used to, but, so I walked the course hundreds, played it some, and walked it maybe hundreds of times with the whole junior golf circuit, and watching him play, so very familiar and invested. And at least, like Clay says, figuring out what is feasible and putting our best foot forward with that. The team that's under us as the architects working on this together, we have a civil engineer, we have a landscape architect, we have an economist, and we have a golf operations expert. So they're all providing feedback to us on a somewhat limited basis, because there was limited professional fees for this. So they're doing the best they can. We're all kind of doing the best we can with the fees we had, and getting as far as we can. So you can see on the screen, I'll go through as much of this as we have time for, but we'll start with the project schedule, kind of where we are on the schedule. We'll talk just a little bit about the zoning analysis that we've started. We'll talk about 3 different programs, which is architecture speak for what goes into the floor plan of a building. So we've got kind of a base, a mid, and a full program or floor plan. And then we've got this sort of a la carte list of amenities that we think will be have return on the investment. Some of those will be just financial return on investment. Others will be this placemaking or community return on the investment. Things that we can do that will make it a better place to be and draw more people in and maybe build future golfers, but certainly as a public space, it'll be things that we think could make it just a better place to be. We'll talk a little bit about the existing site conditions that we're gathering. It's really just information gathering. We'll look at some site plans and some landscape plans for the area of the new clubhouse. And then I'll introduce the economic study. It's long and very small type, but we'll jump to the conclusions at the end of that, and I'll share some of that. And then what I'd like to really do is just ask for feedback. My goal here is not so much to do a presentation, but is to hear back from the committee what your thoughts are, and in the remaining weeks that we've got to complete our study, what feedback do you have for us on the team that's studying this? So it has to start a little bit like a presentation before we can get to the feedback part of it. But so let's go to the next slide, Richard. So this is the schedule. Obviously it's too small to read, but the first half above the box is the pre-design phase, and we've completed that. We completed that in December, and that was gathering as much information as we could to inform our future work. The information inside the box is our concept design phase, which is where we are right now. We're kind of right in the middle where you see the green bar. And we're starting to build out the RFP asked for three options that we can present to the board. So we're in the middle of producing those 3 options. And then everything below the box is the design development phase, where we're gonna try to get to about 30% design development with one scheme, where we take kind of the best elements or the best scheme that we land on, and we advance that into more like a design development set of documents. So we started with the zoning analysis, and the thing it proved to us or showed us is that what we want to do and where we want to do it is allowed by zoning. The one caveat maybe is the uses, and we'll have to talk more about this, but one of the uses that's listed in there is that it's only allowed to have public entities operating on this, in this zone, and we're talking about a non-public concessionaire to do food and beverage, so we may need to adjust the language or talk about the language if we understood that subsection right. So we can go ahead 2 pages. There we go. So getting into the programs, this is what we call the base program of the three. So it's got kind of the most minimal approach to what a new clubhouse could be. The highlights on the left are obviously a pro shop with area for merchandise sales. It would have what we're calling an elevated grab and go food and beverage operation. So it would be run by a Parks and Rec employee. It wouldn't be an outside vendor, but it would be at least hot dogs, maybe warm sandwiches of some type. And then cold things like reach-in coolers for beverages, but maybe also reach-in cooler for things like burritos that could be heated up in a public microwave, or sandwiches, pre-prepared sandwiches that could be grabbed on your way out, or at the turn as you make your way around the course. So there'd be a small prep kitchen behind some sort of snack area where these elements could be prepared. There'd be no bar beyond beer and wine that you're already doing, so there wouldn't be any liquor service. There would be indoor seating. We're saying maybe seating for around 20 people as you place to gather, a place that could be used for the community, but there wouldn't be any table service like you would have in a restaurant. And then for the event pavilion, we'll be providing space for a slab. We'll provide a slab on grade where we can reuse the current tent that you have. And that's got, we think, 8 to 10 years of life left in it. So that's a good base option, is to say, we've got this facility, it keeps the rain and wind out, it works fine for what it's intended to do. We'll provide a new base for it, and we'll reuse that tent on the property. So here's a floor plan. It could take any number, as soon as we put these things on hard lines, people think it's just a done deal, but this is an example of what a base program could look like. So you would enter at the top, which would be the north side of the building, come in, the pro shop would be on your left, and the seating area and the snack area would be on your right. And then you could pass through that southern wall, so you'd be facing out toward the current back nine now. And there'd be some outdoor seating, and we'd have, of course, bathrooms large enough to provide for the 2,400 square foot tent that would sit on that slab, and we're suggesting they just be right next to each other. It could also be a situation where we phase the event pavilion, where we start with the tent and then later we start to enclose that space. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing, but so that's the base option. The porosity between the pro shop and the snack bar area is an open question. Do we make it wide open where they just flow back and forth, or do we make it partially open, a half wall, or does it have a roll down gate or something where you can secure the merchandise in the pro shop and the front desk on off hours where maybe some other event's happening, but you can secure the merchandise and all the whatever important things that Kellen's squirreled away in his office and doesn't want seen. So here's the mid program. What this does is it still has the pro shop and merchandise sales, but it starts to add in a full food and beverage operation. So it'll have a commercial kitchen. It would have seating out front for around 40 people indoors, and it would operate with an independent concessionaire. The event pavilion could use the kitchen. This would be big enough to provide food and beverage to the event pavilion if they decided to operate it that way. And then this assumes a full bar offering, not a big bar, but maybe seating for 6 at the bar, but you'd have a full liquor license at this point. It would be a full operating bar that would be operated by the independent concessionaire. It wouldn't be operated by Parks and Rec. Then we're adding in here a private dining room or meeting room for say 18 to 20 people, where it could be open to the dining space, or it could be closed off for any sort of private meeting. Maybe the neighborhood HOA rents it or loans it, or I'm not sure what the contractual relationship will be, but it'll be available, and it could be closed off so that it could be a private meeting in there, or a private event, a birthday party, whatever. Then the event pavilion would be oriented in the same place that we saw, but now it would be covered. It would be open air on 3 sides, but it would have a permanent roof over it. Maybe a a way to picture that would be the open version of the Langdon Farms event pavilion, where it's a basic building and it provides good shelter from rain, but not necessarily wind or the temperature. So here's that plan. You come in from the top of the drawing. On the north side of the building, you head down. Pro shop and offices are on the left again. Then that meeting room is directly on the right, so that it could be used, maybe even after hours. We could add a set of doors into the vestibule, and that could maybe be used after hours when everything else is locked down. Then you come in and you've got a variety of seating options with tables and chairs and banquettes. And then in this case, we located the bar on the exterior wall so that folks making the turn or people eating out on the patio could get bar service right through the wall. And maybe you could get that turn food right at the window and not have to go into the building as you're making the turn. Then you can see the bathrooms are located there, so they could be used from either side again. Which, you know, we can talk about that. It's got its pros and cons to have bathrooms that are used for both golfers and diners. You know what golf shoes and golfers look like on a cold, rainy day, and it has an effect on the experience inside the bathroom. So a more deluxe plan might have some dedicated bathrooms for the golfers on the outside of the building. Then the next program, what we're calling the full program, it has everything you saw in the last one, a little bit larger bar. It still has that private dining room, but now we're enclosing and conditioning the event pavilion and making it divisible, so maybe 1/3, 2/3 divisible, so that it can host a different sort of event than what an open air pavilion could host. Or you could host events at a different time of year than you might tend to host them. During inclement weather, it'll be closed off. And this could be something more like, I think of Stone Creek. That would be kind of the most basic version of what that enclosed and conditioned pavilion might look like. And it can, of course, get nicer than that, but that's a pretty good bare bones example of what that might look like or could look like. And then we're introducing an indoor hitting bay in this version that would be associated with the pro shop, something that could be used year round. It could be used for not only lessons or club fittings and things like that, but there are other options. You can rent, maybe you could rent the space out with your friends and have competitions on any course in the world, that kind of thing. So we can go to the next page. And here's, you can see the building just continues to grow. I think we increased the dining room seating in this floor plan. I think we're gonna back that back down. We don't see a lot of support on the economic side to go with this much dining space. So the kitchen and dining might be able to shrink a little bit in this full program, but as you come in just to the left, as you come in from the top of the drawing, there's the hitting bay. It's associated with the pro shop. And then you can drop into the restaurant. It's a larger bar. It seats more at the bar, larger dining space for now anyway. And then you can see the event pavilion on the left of the drawing is enclosed. And then it's either got, say, big bifold doors that would open up, or it could have large overhead doors like garage doors, glazed garage doors that would open up and make it an indoor-outdoor space when the weather permits. Okay, then the next thing so those are the three plan options. Now we're starting to look at these, we're calling them amenities, but maybe that's for lack of a better word, but this a la carte list of elements that could be added to the property. So the list on the right came from our golf consultant, and there's some ideas in there that we know aren't gonna work, but they're listed there. The ones in the left with the bigger type are items that are a little bit more realistic for us, or potentially realistic for us. So the driving range, there's things we can do there. We could cover half the driving range, say, so that it's a more enjoyable place to be all year round. And ideally that would mean you'd sell more balls and people would want to be there more often, and it would be a place to hang out with your friends. And maybe food and beverage makes its way out there, so you've got your beer and your burger while you're hitting balls with your friend. So you could cover half of it, you could cover all of it. We could heat it, add heating elements to it. We could add technology, and there's not a lot of support about adding technology where it can't be secured. So one other idea would be to have a securable, like, training portion where maybe you have 2 hitting bays of the entire driving range that are enclosed and securable, so you could have hitting technology, ball tracer technology inside that space that could be locked up. The idea of a double-decker hitting area came up. For now, we don't see the need for more hitting bays than what we have, so we're not focused on that right now. We could light the inside underneath the covered hitting bays. That could be lit, so you could hit balls a little later into the evening or maybe earlier in the morning. And then this idea of just lighting the range so that you could hit balls late into the night or into the dark. So those are all possible options. Of course, some of those they all have cost associated with them, and some have more return than others, and that's part of what we're trying to evaluate. Then after the driving range, some of the options we'll show you, we're locating the new clubhouse on the current warm-up green or practice green on the back 9 side. So we would need to replace that putting green probably further south where we've got good space for it. When we do that, then the question is, do we also want a chipping green on that side of the course? So maybe we add an additional chipping green, and there's probably also space for that south of the putting course right now. We could improve the putting course, make it more attractive in different ways. We could leave that as real grass and make it more interesting. We could turn it into a artificial turf putting course that's more interesting, more fun, and maybe draw more people in. There's an idea of creating an outdoor performance area. So maybe the back patio of the clubhouse becomes like a stage, and the lawn in front of it becomes a community gathering space. So, and when it's too dark to play golf, the facility could transition to a community events space where they can run events and have performances or bands or whatever off the front of off the back side of the clubhouse. We talked about an outdoor fire pit probably on that patio so that it extends the season, the usability of the porch. And we talked about, of course, a shoe cleaning area. That's probably a given, but it's on the list. Compressed air and shoe cleaning before you go back to your car or back into the clubhouse. And then, of course, how we serve golfers that are making the turn. How do we do that? Is it really dedicated, or do they just come back into the restaurant or the bar and get food there? And then these aren't quite amenities, but a couple of other additional things. There's alternate ideas about the operating model where Parks and Rec doesn't have to operate the food and beverage, but also they could sub out the operation of the clubhouse. So there could be a contractual way that that's run, and it doesn't have to be done by Parks and Rec staff. And then just this idea of the last bullet point there, this idea of food and beverage service extending beyond just the building. Now that we've got the clubhouse on the south side of the road, it's over there with the driving range, it's over there with the putting course, it's over there with the new chipping green, and the ability for guests to take their beer or their drink and their fries or whatever and take it over to the range and make that an event with their friends where they can sit and drink and eat and hit balls and have a good time. Okay, next slide. This is just an existing conditions plan that we're building. Right now we have the aerial photography, we've got topography, we've got irrigation and public utilities, and we'll be adding in the private side utilities to this drawing. And these are all just things that will help us evaluate where best to position the clubhouse, what the costs are associated with that in terms of how far utilities have to run, how much dirt has to be moved, that sort of thing. So that's just part of our study. Next slide. So here we're starting to study locations for these buildings on the south side of the road. And this site plan A, I think we have maybe 4 or 5 to show here, but we probably looked at 15 locations. This is just a narrowing down of everything we looked at. And so So these, this first one locates the clubhouse, which is the sort of brown building in the middle, the event pavilion, which is the orange structure, and the cart barn, which is the red structure. We've located all of those pretty far north and away from that existing putting green, with the idea that we don't have to touch that putting green.
Michael, are you showing the mid, base, or
These
expanded size?
These aren't, it's closest to the mid. Yeah, they're not quite that dialed in, but they're more like bubble diagrams for now, but they're closest to the mid size-wise. The cart barn and the event pavilion don't change in any of the schemes. The size of those don't change, or any of the options rather. So the next slide, site plan B. Here we're just starting to push the clubhouse and the event pavilion forward. That gets it up onto the elevation of this putting green, which has a dramatic effect on the quality of the views that you see when you look south. So we like it for that reason. The cart barn in this one is tucked back closest to the road, which is just an idea that we studied. We can go to Plan C. This is the one that we're narrowing in on now. That's why it has a little star by it, but this has the clubhouse and the event pavilion right up on top of the green, and then the cart barn is in this sort of L fashion, tucked over by the putting course and the driving range. And then Plan D is Plan D and E, we're taking the cart barn and we're tucking it underneath the clubhouse, so it's sort of a daylight basement cart barn that you would drive in underneath. And these options, D and E, we're not moving forward with right now, just because of the added expense. It's notably more expensive to bury the cart barn underground. There's lots of associated construction with that, water management and all sorts of things. So then the next group of slides are the landscape plans, and these roughly correspond to the site plans, the architectural or engineering, maybe civil plans that we just showed you, but they start to pick up some of the elements and make some, I guess, refinements to the parking arrangement. Everything you see to the right of the entry off of Fernwood Road is new parking, new hardscape parking. So we can go to the next slide. Again, these are reflecting, and then this one here, this landscape plan 3 with the star, this is the one we've started to advance a little bit further. We feel like it's got the most promise. Landscape plan 4 was where we started tucking the cart barn underneath and not moving forward with that for the reasons we described. And now this is landscape plan 3 with some updates to it. So this is the one that we're advancing the most right now, and it's picking up some of the things that we talked about on the amenity list. Like number 1 over there is the idea of covering and deepening the tee box at the range, so that you can actually gather under there with your friends or your family and hit balls and stay dry or stay cool in the summer. We've got the replacement putting green. Now that's pushed a little bit further south. That's number 2. Number 3 is the additional chipping green. If we did add a dedicated chipping green, that would be then further south toward the end of the range. Number 4 is that cart barn that we talked about. And out in front of the cart barn is the hardscape staging area, number 5. That would be a place to stage carts for tournaments, and a place for carts to come back at the end of the day or at the end of the tournament, where they can be washed and cleaned up and put back in the barn. So just a nice back of house space that has multiple purposes, but starts to make that cart management operation a lot easier for staff. And in all of these, we're tucking that cart barn pretty close to the clubhouse, because in most cases the staff that are running the clubhouse are also oftentimes out helping manage carts. Number 6 is that lawn. Oops, go back to the floor plan. Number 6 is that lawn right in front of the clubhouse, and that's where we could start to use the after-hour community gathering space. That could be an event lawn, and the patio off the back of the clubhouse would be could act as a sort of stage. Number 7 and 8 are an idea to move the cart barn up that direction, and that's partly with the idea that if you've got some errant balls coming up what will be the new 9th hole if we get the additional 18 or the additional 9 holes in. That becomes hole 9. That's why we're showing it as 9. But putting the cart barn up there would create a bit of a buffer between the golf course and the parking lot. So that's why that's shown there. And then the oval number 8 is there to indicate a staging area associated with that cart barn that could be kind of tucked between the clubhouse and the cart barn. Number 9 is taking the existing putting course and just enhancing it in some way, whether that's using the real grass that we've got and making it even more interesting or more fun or more holes or whatever, or artificial turf. And number 10 is just this idea that we're adding parking and a drop-off area, and of course deliveries will come in, although the food trucks have to drop off for the food and beverage operation, as well as just bag management. People can drop off their bags potentially. I don't know if you can manage that during tournaments, if you've got staff for that, but it could be a bag drop area as well. So that's that. This starts the economic study, and this isn't the time to go through the nuances of this study. It's several pages, but Richard, maybe if we go to the next to the last page in the whole presentation, it summarizes his draft. Yeah, one page back. There we one page back. There it is. So here he summarizes, the economist has summarized his thoughts, and what he's determined is there are inherent challenges and benefits to trying to put a true food and beverage operation at this location. It's not on the main drag. It's difficult to get passerby eyeballs on this site. Either you know about it or you don't, kind of thing. And then the benefit is that it could be one of the most beautiful places to have a meal in the city. It's got these incredible views to the south and out over the golf course, and it could be a pretty incredible experience. His recommendation is that it wouldn't go beyond a 40-seat indoor establishment. That's probably the spot where it's going to be the most successful. And then around events and meeting spaces, his recommendation, or his research showed that Newburgh, given the number of facilities that are already in place with wineries and hotels, that there's a lot of meeting space available. But if you look at the sort of 30 to 50 person range, that's a spot where they felt that there's potential, kind of a potential marketable size for a meeting space. So we could keep that 18 to 20 indoor space. You could add it to the dining space inside and have 40 to 50 dining spaces indoor after the restaurant shuts down, say for after lunch service. They could be rented out as an event. Or if we went with one of those event pavilion options where we enclose the event pavilion and make it divisible, you could have, smaller events on this smaller side of that event pavilion. So that's the summary. He's working on other things too, but that's where he was at the time. That's why it says draft across the front of it. Okay, so that's the basics. The next slide is me just wanting to solicit your thoughts and feedback. Specific things that we're looking for are thoughts on the restaurant scale and offerings, how that would change the design of the clubhouse and the type of kitchen and that sort of thing. The amenities that have value, and of course value can be from a community standpoint. It could make a really interesting place to be, a really fun place to be for the community, and that adds value. It's a place where you want to be with your family. You're maybe having burgers and fries on the patio while your kids are out on the putting course and you're watching. So it could kind of extend beyond just the pure golfer experience. And then there's the things that just create value. If we make a more attractive clubhouse, people will tend to want to be there more. If we make a more attractive food and beverage operation, people will be here not just to golf, but to eat and drink. If we make a more attractive driving range, people will come because they like the experience on the range. They can stay dry, they can stay warm on a cold day. they can be there with their friends because there's space behind the tee box to hang out, that kind of thing. So, yeah, what creates vibrancy and what creates return on investment? Then the site, you know, we're looking at these options around the location of the cart barn. We're trying to evaluate the value of the additional chipping green. If we put the clubhouse where we're talking about it now, we pretty much have to do an additional putting green because that one gets deleted with the location of the clubhouse. And then the event pavilion, you know, the options that we talked through, the reuse of the tent on a new slab, the structured roof but fully open walls, structured with partially open walls. That's sort of a half step. That one's maybe that third bullet point under event pavilion is maybe the one that's closest to Langdon Farms, where you can, it's not conditioned, but you can really protect it. You can close it down pretty tight if it's windy or cold. And then the last option is to fully enclose it and condition it and make it divisible. So that's a list of things that we're looking for feedback on. You may have other things that you want to give feedback on.
So, can I start?
Oh,
We'll
yeah,
start with
please, by
us.
all means.
We'll start with the committee first, and then open it up to the public afterwards. So,
As you'd like to, yeah, and just say, be clear about what you're doing.
yeah. Corey, you're at the far end. I'll let you start.
I'll go second. Go ahead. I have some thoughts, but I'm gonna wait and see if you guys have some questions.
Bob, go ahead.
First of all, square footage, I didn't see any square footage. You probably have it on that small print, I couldn't read it. But asking about that first base, what you called it, a base, I believe.
Yeah.
What was the square footage on that structure?
The,
Not excluding the tent.
excluding the event pavilion, it's around 3,000 square feet roughly, maybe 3,175. I'd have to go back and look at my numbers because it's constantly changing at this stage, but it was, I think the base was like 2,600, and then the mid kind of went up around that 3,200, and then the full program was well beyond. Yeah. And that was undefined as we try to figure out how big to make the food and beverage operation.
Okay. And then, Kellen, how many parking locations do we have right now currently, please?
Casey, do you have that answer? I don't off the top of my head.
Is there
I
40
think
plus?
We need to add about 55 if the additional 9 goes in.
Okay. But we can count that on the other side for all of the
Yeah.
required parking,
Yep.
correct?
Yeah, actually the zoning doesn't have a standard for golf courses. It's a pretty unique use, so Newburgh doesn't have that yet in their zoning or in their planning documents, but we're roughly saying 6 cars per hole. That's what Salem uses for golf courses. So that would require an additional 55 spots. And then depending on the food and beverage operation, if it were kind of a hop-in restaurant, that may not be enough when the golf course is full and the restaurant is full, say on a summer early evening. That could be kind of tight.
And would you say when let's say, we made the decision to have a conference room or a meeting facility, do we have to incorporate parking for the approximation of how many people are going to be using that, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think that would be, if you were gonna try to run events in the event pavilion while the golf course is full, I think you'd have a parking situation, even with the additional 55. Yeah. If you're running a full tournament and the tournament is using the event pavilion, it would be okay. It would fit. It would be probably full, but fit. If you're doing a non-golf related event while the course is full, I think you'd be up against it with parking.
Okay. That's all I have.
So, Joe?
No, go for it, yeah.
So a couple questions I had are the cart storage that's existing and the existing double wide. What happens to that in the program?
Yeah, that's maybe more of a question for these guys, but my understanding is we're gonna probably keep both structures. existing cart barn would be overflow cart. We probably only bring over about 40 carts to the south side, which would be enough for daily operations and small tournaments. And then the overflow carts would stay on the north side. So that building would remain as is and keep operating as it is as a cart barn, because it's got all the charging equipment in it. It's built out for cart storage, and it works well for that. The other building, we've talked about other things, like gutting it, cleaning it up, and making it a facility for Parks and Rec to use in different ways, but I don't think anything's been decided that I've heard. Putting a new roof on it, if you keep it, I think was what we heard.
Yeah, it's to be determined, because it kind of I think our discussion, Calendar Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, but it kind of depends on what happens across the street before we figure out how do we make sure we reuse that space. But we would expect that it gets reused in some fashion. We've got enough need.
Getting rid of it, we studied what that would give us back in parking if we got rid of the clubhouse, the existing clubhouse. And because it's in this weird triangle, it adds very few, 4 or 5 spots total.
I got to my next question is,
Yeah, it didn't give
no
us-
changes to the parking lot on the north side.
Yeah, there's no room, yeah, the only thing you could do is pull out the clubhouse, and it would add just a handful of parking stalls. And a weird, you know how hard it is as a civil engineer to fit parking spots into a triangle. It's really hard.
Yeah, people driving straight lines, I get it.
Yeah.
You don't wanna put a parking garage there?
Hey, no, I really don't.
And then, is there, would you be replacing the fence along the driving range? The east side of the driving range?
I think the idea is to maintain the east side fence, and then there's been some study to add a fence on the west side of the driving range to manage ball loss. Some of us
Are you seeing
golfers
people
tend to slice.
No.
I'm one of them. And there's nothing really stopping it right now. I think you've put in some sort of temporary measures to stop the rollers from getting down into the abyss, but it's a line item that's not on our current study, that fence. I just know that it's being worked on.
Okay. And then, have you given any thought yet, you probably don't have the program yet, but if you went with option, the mid or the bigger one, to reuse the tent and do a staged construction, so build the bulk of the clubhouse now with the tent being reused for 10 years while it's life, and then at the end of its life, go vertical with an outdoor pavilion.
I think that option works for any of the 3 schemes. You could do the full building and have that phased event pavilion as a separate path or separate schedule. Yeah.
All right, Joe?
For the, because there's the 2 different options for the cart barn and like the staging area, and one of them was sort of like essentially a, for lack of better terms, like a blocking
A barrier.
way. Yeah, exactly. Like if that was on the other side, would there be something there? Like I don't know how good netting or anything would look like that to stop that, or would it just be natural landscape?
I think it would be natural landscape. I think the thing to do would, if we located it in the preferred location closer to the driving range, would be to kind of do a wait and see a little bit. It's not, because it's an uphill approach to that green, it's a really hard miss to get a ball up
All
where
the
we're
way up
showing
there,
the
yeah.
parking lot. Yeah, maybe a lefty, maybe a lefty whose approach shot just goes incredibly errant, but it's a pretty difficult, it's a long way and it's uphill.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard to get the ball into that location.
Gotcha. And then on like the driving range, I know there's a lot of amenities, different things that could be added. I mean, I know that obviously we've talked about like clubhouse strictly, and driving range hasn't been in conversation, but I guess the costs on some of those added amenities to the driving range didn't seem like too far out of the scope to be incorporated, where it was like, it obviously was on here, so it's optional, but didn't seem like it was too far-fetched to be adding some of that into this project.
We haven't gotten numbers put to that yet. That's kind of what's gonna happen over the next few weeks here, is starting to get some pricing on these elements. But there are ways to do that covered range that are simple and ways to make it really elaborate. There's the Oswego Lake driving range cover, which if you've been there is like a national park covering.
Yeah.
Or there's ways you can do it quite simply. So it could be something that's pretty, pretty affordable and maybe still usable, but we haven't been able to put numbers to it yet.
Okay.
I got two questions. First of all, thanks, it's great to see different designs and kind of the initial mock-up. Someone on the team came up with a couple of years ago, so thank you for doing that. The first question I have is, you talked about kind of how the restaurant's off the beaten path and that can affect business. And I guess my question, I'm fairly new to the area in the last 4 years, but I know there's a lot of successful wineries that are off the beaten path. And I feel like, you know, especially with the additional 9 holes and the greens and the other couple neighborhoods and another neighborhood going up, there might be plenty of business there. Is there a way to evaluate that financially and how that could be successful with the 40-seat restaurant?
That's really what the economist is focused on, one of the major things he's focused on. I think he feels, even with the additional 9 holes, that if a full food and beverage operation had to rely on golf traffic only, it would probably fail. We know it won't get golf traffic only because it's got neighborhoods on both sides, and people will be aware of it. Local people will be aware of it. It's this sort of broader community beyond just this part of Newburgh, greater Newburgh, Sherwood to Dundee. That draw is just more difficult. It's I'm not the economist, so I'm speaking on his behalf today. But he just said it's an impediment because it's not visible as you drive through town. But like I mentioned earlier, it's got its upsides too that make it something really unique and special that you're not going to get on 99, and you could never replicate on Highway 99.
I was just kind of thinking the number of people, at least in my community, at the greens and whatnot, that aren't necessarily golfers, but they're looking for a close restaurant to go and eat. And then also, I don't know if in the plan, I think it was B, the 40-seater, if that bar will be built in a fashion that maybe has a look and feel more like a sports bar with some big screens and stuff to also attract people to kind of come in and, you know, have some side dishes or drinks or whatever outside of golf. Is that part of the plan to?
Yeah, the outside vendor is a big question mark. Who would take it over?
Gotcha.
Of course, the idea would be to attract as many people. It would require non-golfers to make it viable, in addition to the golfers. So I would think they would do. Clay, maybe you're better to answer this, but the idea is that we want to attract a vendor that's going to bring people to the facility, introduce them to Chehalem Glen, and give them a great meal, but maybe also start them thinking about what they could do with their family while they're there and sort of grow it beyond. So yeah, I would think a facility that has a broad attractiveness, broad reach would be advantage to everybody involved, yeah, all the stakeholders.
And then the last question I just took note of is how can you do a financial feasibility study for kind of that indoor hitting area? I'm familiar with a couple of them up north that have multiple bays and a bar and a restaurant, some other ways to kind of supplement their income. But having the maintenance on those is pretty high given the technology, and then having it staffed and whatnot. Is that something that could really pay for itself, or we may be too high in the sky?
That's one of the things we're studying. I think the idea is that the only reason you would do it is if it had an advantage, either a financial return on investment, or it just brought a lot of people to the facility so they would buy more burgers and play more golf and drink more beer. So I think we can quantify that. We know what the sort of range for those go. It's usually like by the hour kind of thing. We know what you can charge by the hour and make assumptions about how often you can keep it full.
Thank you.
So on the restaurant idea, it sounds like it's more on the sandwich and hot dog side, but for those 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock tea times, could you add an option for a coffee bar, an espresso machine, and?
Yeah, I think that could be. It's a little bit operational at that point because that probably doesn't require the vendor to do anything. If the CPRD staff wants to keep a coffee bar set
Well, I'm
up.
thinking the full-on espresso experience, so
Oh,
somebody
yeah,
can come
like
in and
a-
get a
like a
mocha or
barista?
a quad shot,
Either-
with-
yeah.
get amped up before the
Maybe,
round.
maybe,
But it's
yeah.
also something, there's a walking trail around the course that I'm sure the folks at the Greens and other neighborhoods are using. It might be a nice spot for them to stop
Yeah.
in and get a cup of coffee on their morning walk.
Yeah, maybe there's an operator that would wanna run a coffee service out of the, sort of the halfway house window.
Starbucks or Caravan.
But, you know, like all these things that we're talking about today, if it doesn't make sense, it won't happen. If there isn't return on it, or there isn't enough return, it doesn't happen. And you see lots of examples of people who try to run a coffee shop in a great location, like, wow, a year later, they're closed. I don't understand, so I don't know the business side behind coffee
So
bars.
could you put up the amenities list?
Yeah, Richard, I was midway through the presentation.
And what I would ask the committee, and then we'll talk to the public as well that are here, but on the amenities list, top 3, bottom 3 for you, for each of us, of what would you like to see at this updated clubhouse?
You're getting close, Richard.
That's the beginning.
Yeah, it's gonna be above all these site plans, keep going.
And then we'll look at the site plan and have any comments on that of what we all prefer as well.
Right there. Yep, that's it.
So of those bullets on the left-hand side, assuming you can, Richard, can you zoom in on those? Now we're getting better, on the left-hand side. Perfect. All right. So for the committee, thoughts on the driving range, half covered, heaters, what do you guys, what's the, I'll tell you, I'm in favor of the half covered.
Yeah, same here.
And I like the idea of having the lights on the tee box at night and in the morning. I don't usually know where my balls go anyways, I just want to make good contact, so. If you can do lights on the range itself, that'd be great, but I'd like the lights on the tee box.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. If you're gonna be at night, you should. But where you want to, if you're gonna have it on the tee box, you better have it in the field or in the range, because, you won't know where your ball lies. So we'd have to light that up. And the question is there any reasonable priced lighting now that would fill that whole area up with
Big floodlights.
illumination?
I mean, I don't care where my balls go, because they're always on that netless side of the right hand.
You'll know what's
I know where
we
mine
need
are.
the net.
Yeah, that's why we need the net.
And that's a question that I can't answer, nobody else,
Yep.
I imagine here can.
I think for me to answer that question, maybe this is a question for Callan, but what is the financial implications of that becoming back to a natural grass driving range?
That would definitely require a net at the back of the range to push the range 40 yards forward. We would lose exponentially more balls if we moved the range forward.
Oh, to cover it, you'd have to go,
No, he's talking about
I'm talking about
using
the-
the real grass.
Versus mats.
As tee
Yeah.
box for the driving range. And then there's also maintenance and staffing implications that come along with that.
Joe, any thoughts on the driving range?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, all of those do sound like great ideas. I just, when I come back to what we're here for is the clubhouse and creating that spot, is that anything we can do to the driving range to improve it is, extra, I mean, so if it's half covered, great. There are some heaters on some of those covered ones, great. If we don't make any changes to the driving range, unfortunate, but if we're sacrificing that so that way there's finances for the clubhouse and all that, that's kind of where I stand on it. Yeah.
Richard, can you scroll down to the next group of a la carte amenities? Thank you. All right, so the replacement putting green and the chipping green, is that the additional chipping green on the south side?
We'd almost have to have it. Yeah.
That's a must-have.
Callan would know that better than anybody.
Well, if the clubhouse sits on top of the current chipping green, you have to have a replacement putting green.
Just can't rely on the one on the other side of the street, though. That's,
That one, the one that's on the current clubhouse side cannot become a chipping green because of traffic and everything there, so that basically has to stay a putting green. So we would lose a chipping green that we would want to replace.
Okay, so that sounds like a must-have.
yeah.
A Himalayan putting green course, what is that? Oh, natural grass for the putt course?
Blueberries, blackberries?
So the Himalayan putting course is similar to what you see in, what's the old course called? St. Andrews? That's sort of the most famous Himalayan green, but it's a large putting area that's undulating. And people have started building those now on our side of the pond. And the idea is that you can set up an interesting 9 or 18 holes around these Himalayan putting greens. And it's just a fun time to be out there with your friends and try to make it from 1 to 2 to 3 around to 9 or 18 on these putting greens. It's a sort of a amenity.
So it's an it's something added on to the court, preparing for your round.
Yeah, or after your round, or where you got a tie break with your buddy, like, okay, who wins at the Himalayan green?
And that style's more of the continuous putting green as opposed to the
That's right.
9 separate holes like our current putting
Yeah,
course is.
it's not defined fairways for the putting course. It's
So would that be a
open-
replacement for the current putt or a addition to?
It could be either. It could take the place. It could go in that location, or it could be supplemental if there's space. If we do both the chipping green, the putting green, we probably wouldn't have room for yet another Himalayan green. It would have to either be the chipping or the current putting course, or we'd have to sacrifice one of the others.
Regarding the artificial turf putting greens, I've never putted on one except putt-putt or whatever they have in.
Yeah.
Do golf courses have these, what you're
Yeah,
calling artificial?
we're starting to see more of them around. They're very low maintenance, right? So you don't have the staff out there having to mow and manage and fertilize those putting courses. And they can be as elaborate or simple as you want them to be.
And there's quality of turf? I would
Yeah, there's
assume?
good very high quality turf. It's not something that replaces the feel of the real grass green before you start your round. It's a different experience. It's more of a family or a fun experience. It's not a prep for your round. It's not gonna roll the same as it would on real grass.
Okay. And I'm all for an outdoor fire pit.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's almost a must-have for me, that experience at the
Kinda
end to
cool.
begin.
Yeah.
Shoe cleaning, yeah, that's a must-have. If I don't clean them off, my wife won't let me play again.
Michael, did you by any chance look at the whole list of various things that our survey exposed as far as the golfers there that filled them out?
We did look through it, yeah, and we've tried to distill down the ones that we think have reasonable return, either community return or financial return. That's kind of part of how this list got built. If there's something you feel like is missing from what you had in your report that you want further consideration of, let us know.
What were the last 3 on there, Richard? On the left. The artificial outdoor performance stage area with a lawn area.
That almost costs nothing, because we're gonna, almost every scheme, we have this back patio, right? And we see this grass, you don't want the warm-up putting green slammed right up against the clubhouse. So it's probably just a lawn area. If we just maintain it as lawn and not putting surface, that amenity almost comes for free in a way, because the patio will be there and it'll be elevated like a stage would be, because it sits up on that elevation of the putting green.
Can an outdoor fire pit have any sort of coverage whatsoever, even if it's open all around the side?
I was standing here asking myself that same question. If we get the roof of the porch high enough, can we put the fireplace underneath it? And I don't know that answer offhand. It would take a little code research. Yeah.
The one at the out at Hood River is one I know of, and it's outside.
Covered?
Yeah, no,
Uncovered.
no, it's uncovered, but it's
Uncovered,
got
yeah.
a nice bench seat around it that you can sit on.
Yeah. If it's in a fireplace, like recessed with a flue, we can do an outdoor fireplace that's undercover. But an open fire pit was probably a little bit tougher to justify.
I'm just trying to get something that can be used more during the year than just.
Yeah, that's
4 or
right,
5 months.
yeah. We've looked at some examples that extend the roof out, and you can have that sort of outdoor gathering area with an outdoor fireplace, but it's not a pit, open pit.
What is halfway house service?
Just how you get the food and drink at the turn.
So is that just the opening
Yeah.
into the kitchen
Do
bar
you have to
area?
go into the building to get it? Do we
Okay.
do it out the back of the kitchen?
So we're not putting
kitchen
a
staff?
kiosk out at the whole 7.
No, I mean, that's the beauty of having your turn at the clubhouse, is you don't need a freestanding building. It's
Okay.
just how we bake it into the design of the building itself to either benefit the golfers or benefit the vendor, or, simplify the process.
And then I like the idea of the third-party operations.
Mhm. I think we have to, especially the restaurant.
Kelly
Yeah, the
doesn't wanna be
restaurant's
a waitress.
pretty much a given if we do anything more than grab and go, but that's that next step beyond where
I think it's worth
the
looking
third
at
party would manage both the desk operations at the check-in and the food and beverage. It would be one entity that manages both.
But that sounds like we would have to relinquish some revenue.
Yeah, I think there is a profit sharing with those. I don't know exactly how it goes, but you go out for you put out a request for interest to organizations that do this, and they can give you proposals for what they would do for your given facility.
So Michael, you mentioned early on that you're not sure how that would work since this is public property, and I don't know if we can outsource that. What are the steps for us to investigate that, especially if that's potentially
Yeah, I think
deal
it's
breaker?
something we just have to take to zoning and
Okay.
see if that line item in the zoning code can be changed, or if it isn't meant to say you can't have an outside food and beverage vendor. Maybe that's really outside of what they were trying to get to. I don't know the origin of that line in the code, but we'll just take some research.
Clay, wasn't that your old realm?
I didn't work for the county.
Oh.
And so, in my experience, it's not unusual for large park and facility operators to have concessionaires. It's pretty normal. But it may be that the county's got something, because counties are usually more rural areas, so they might want to make sure that the public entities aren't doing things that look like a commercial operation. So if we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but there may be a conditional use permit pathway or something like that. So hopefully the zoning research will tell us what that pathway looks like, because there's an interest that I do not want to try and have the district run and operate a restaurant. That's too high risk. But us looking into figuring out what a good commercial kitchen looks like that any number of restaurateurs could come in and run and be successful in would be great. And to give them other spin-off opportunities like halfway house service, or doing kind of a cold reach-in fridge or something like that that's stocked by the restaurant, might kind of sweeten the deal for them too with some of that traffic.
Like it.
As well as having things like breakfast and quadruple espressos and stuff like that in the morning.
I need that hot burrito on the quad shot.
Yeah.
Any amenities that came up during our research that you guys thought we need to discuss?
No, I see it all here, just about.
Comments from the audience?
We'll get there.
Yep.
I promise.
I had some interest in, what we do with the old cart barn and the triple wide. And I mean, I think some people might be interested in kind of a locker room clubhouse where we could store clubs and stuff for locals. Maybe there's not enough interest in that. I don't know. I was just kind of tossing that out. I hate to see it get torn down, so you try to build a parking lot into a triangle. If we could make use of it a different way, that would be good. Yeah, I was trying to reuse it.
The only other thought I had was the fit and finish of the outside. Clearly, we don't. I speak for me. I don't like the look of a double wide on a really nice golf course. What are the options for the exterior or the interior finishes that might affect price you're considering
For the new clubhouse,
for the new clubhouse? Yeah.
the goal is to make it look nothing like a triple wide.
So we hired an architect. Triple wide is a civil engineer's trick.
That's right, yeah.
Some people like the triple wide, I have to just tell you.
Yeah, that's kind of the next stage. Now that we're starting to nail down what the floor plan is, we can start to go a little bit vertical with it. And we've done lots of precedent studies, from really elaborate, beautiful structures to pretty simplified, more, say, agricultural looking buildings, or simplified farm-looking structures to modern Pacific Northwest expressions or lodge-like structures. It can kind of go in any direction. We've got to really nail down what goes in the box first, and then we'll start to figure out
But
what
that'll be
shape
part
it
of
could
the
be.
performa package that gets presented at the end of this?
Yeah, we'll have an option. I think, I need to talk more with staff about this, how we handle that, but I think we'll probably present the 3 options with a single architectural expression to simplify costing. If we did 3 floor plan options with 3 architectural expressions, it would cloud the estimating and you wouldn't be able to get apples to apples.
Sure.
So we'll probably pick one architectural expression for this concept phase. And then when we move into the design development phase, we could entertain additional exterior expressions that take
The
on a
bolt-ons.
different look, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Can I do a prompt with the CAC and then kind of a reminder for the public?
Yep.
So some of the things that Michael was asking for kind of feedback on was the scale and offering, so I'd be curious what folks thought about that base, mid, and full options. I think we heard a little bit about some of the offerings themselves. He was also mentioned, and I don't know if it caught everybody or landed, but return on investment versus community value. Community value is something when we talked a little bit, there was value, kind of performance value for the golf community as well as community value for any visitor. And I will say that from our perspective as staff, being able to have a golf course that's so inviting that it converts people in your town into golfers is appealing. To make it continue to be something where it's just a place that people just want to be regardless of whether they're playing golf, and then eventually just lures them into trying it out. That seems good as a public course.
I think we agree.
Agreed with
And so if there's anything as golfers that you think is good at turning people into golfers, that might be a good thing to hear about. The site location, if you guys loved or hated some of those cart barn locations or configurations that were mentioned, he said that 3 is the one that was looking the most ripe. Well, if you hated it, say so. If you thought that was also your favorite, say so. Or whatever the other ones are thinking. And then pavilion with the level of build out that you thought would be helpful. Would be good to know if it's a full build out, if you think it's really just a more seasonal open air kind of a usage versus more of a slightly enhanced one where there's a little bit of shielding. But wanted to prompt and see if any of those, you haven't been able to share those yet, and also remind the public that those are some of the things that Michael's hoping to get for today, for the team.
So, Richard, if you can go to site plan 3, that had the star on it.
Probably the easiest
Michael,
one-
Richard's gonna know your presentation better than you
I
are
know.
by the end of this.
Yeah, keep going, Richard. It's the last of the,
Landscape plans.
keep going down.
Do you want him to show the landscape plan?
Yeah, I
or
think the landscape
site
was the
plan?
easiest to
Cleanest.
read. Yep,
Okay.
there you go, that last landscape image, right there.
3
The
updated.
one that says
3-star.
updated.
Oh, there we go, updated, yeah.
There we go.
All right, so committee members, and then we'll open it for the public. So, Corey?
So, yeah, if we talk about community value, I feel like one of the primary thoughts around this original design was to find a restaurant center that could be self-sustaining outside of golf. If it brings in more golfers, that's great. But I feel like there's a need, at least in my area of the community, that we need some nicer restaurants, some more community-type settings. So I'm hoping that would be self-sustaining in of itself. In terms of site location, the only concern I wasn't a big fan of this was the ultimate cart barn location separating the parking lot from the whole 9. Generally that might be a visual area for tournaments and stuff like that, so I don't know about putting a barrier in between 9 and the parking lot. And then finally the pavilion, if we can reuse our current pavilion for X number of years, as you mentioned, and pay simply for the slab of cement, with the opportunity that when that pavilion needs to be replaced, maybe we can build something a little more robust, that'd be great. So as long as the slab can be converted in the future to something a little bit more expensive, a little bit nicer after the current pavilion has exceeded its years of life, I would encourage that we entertain that. That's all I got.
All right. As far as number 7, can I ask again, number 7 is the alternative barn location, as opposed to 4. And The 4 would be just exposed to the public and and what do you see as an exterior structure, the ambiance of what it would look like? Can you make it similar to what we're building out there?
Yeah, the backside, which would be what you see as you enter out of the parking lot to the front door of the clubhouse, would have a similar architectural expression to the clubhouse. So it would sort of create this forecourt as you come into that hardscape area off the tip of the parking lot. The opposite side, facing the driving range, is more the working side. It would have a couple of garage doors that open and close onto that flat work where you can stage carts for tournaments. Carts will be coming back at the end of the round to be cleaned and washed down and put back in the barn. So it's got sort of the public face that faces the forecourt and the working side that faces the driving range.
I see what you're thinking though, Bob. You're gonna walk in, if you're walking in from the parking lot,
Yeah.
you're just gonna see this big blank wall of the back side of the
Right.
cart barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no hiding that it's a big, simple building. We can do things with windows and siding elements and sort of implied pilasters or beams or something that make it a more interesting facade.
Okay.
But it's not, it's part of a golf course campus, you know, it's one of the
Could it be
elements on a
slid
golf course
over
campus.
closer to the driving range?
I guess it could.
And then still leave that 5 area as the pavilion for staging, but move the building closer to number 1.
Sure.
So you leave the elegance of the clubhouse.
Yeah, there might be space to the right of the driving range, that sort of corner, if I had a pointer, I'd point, but that area just off the entry drive, where the entry drive stops and the driving range starts, maybe there's space in there.
Gets into the putting green a little bit more.
And it can also be used for
Yeah.
the cleaning of the balls and preparation for taking them back out to the range.
Well, right now that happens through the clubhouse,
Yes, on the other side.
yeah, so they go back to the front desk. I don't know if that's how it would continue to go, but
Oh.
eventually they need to make it back to the front desk so you
A
can.
lot of them are going to those coins that you just drop in, you get a bucket.
Yeah, have an operational question, but
Yeah.
I like the putting green idea. I like number 6 and 2, and I agree with Corey. I'd love to see the amenities draw the public in and make it a public facing, but and the staged construction of the plaza makes it more feasible to build now something nicer, so we're not cutting corners, but the bones are there for future expansion.
And one more thing I wanted to point out is that all the information that we got from the various clubs that we asked, could you give us some feedback on these questions? Pretty much every one of them said, build the kitchen larger than what we have. We did not build it large enough. I don't know what the square footage would be, but did you take that into consideration when you designed the kitchen?
yeah, the kitchens we show are all pretty generous for options mid and full. Those are pretty generous kitchens. They leave room for walk-in coolers, a full dish pit, and area for even providing catering to the event pavilion. So they're pretty full-size kitchens. They assume a full complement of commercial
Okay.
kitchen equipment, like fryers and flat tops and 6 tops and the whole shoot match.
Joe?
Yeah, as far as feedback goes on, just like you were saying, what can make it more of the community feel, and it's, goes back to like the driving range, the not the practice putting area, but the putting course, is that those are, speaking anecdotally, it's like when I started off, what got me into golf in my early 20s was going to the driving range with my father and, going to 12th and Island Greens, getting a meal, getting the food, getting drink, and then going out and hitting balls and just hanging out there, going to the putting green. So I think that any way that we can make it feasible so that way it's not extra work for Kellen, like the artificial putting course, I think is a great idea. I think that mostly you probably see younger kids and families using those. and then if the driving range is something that can be used more throughout the calendar year, so having it covered, that would be nice to have. I think that making the parts outside of the golf course where people are going to want to stay and spend more time, that's where it's going to have the community aspect and the financial aspect. Because if they're going to, hey, let's go have a meal, then let's go play the putting course, then let's go actually hit some balls. I mean, that's, anywhere between 2 to 3 hours that they're spending there, that has that financial and that community impact. So
Yeah, I think that's the way we think about these improvements to the driving range. It's not because we want the driving, or not only because we want the driving range to be a cool place. We want it to be a draw, so that people want to be there. Once they're there, they realize how great the entire facility is, how good of a hang it is.
Yep.
This is just a great place to be.
All right.
Just real quick, Clay, I don't know if I answered your original question, but, the plans presented, what appeals to me the most currently is the mid-clubhouse with indoor seating for 40 at a restaurant.
I think I'm on that same page.
The middle one.
Yeah, and if we had the outdoor area, maximize that outside area. I like that. And the outside covered seating outside with the halfway window,
Yeah.
so I don't have to go inside and get my refreshment at the turn.
Well, selfishly, I'm in favor of the full, but beggars can't be choosers.
I am also in favor of full.
I would take the full happily,
Yeah.
but I could live very happily with the medium
Right.
to get the fit and finish that we
Can't
want.
wait for the price.
Yeah,
All right.
the cost of construction goes up and return on investment goes out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir?
All right, yeah. Thank you, Roger. Name and location where you live.
Roger Jordan, and I live between the 8th hole and the 9th hole on the right side, Ironwood, 344. If you notice when you go down the way, there's a kitchenette in the back there, and I have a refrigerator back there.
Is it stocked?
So I,
If he gives you permission, this is what he's doing.
I use it kind of my entertainment and retirement. And I, myself, like some of our neighbors, moved up there because of the golf course. I've been looking at the Portland area as we move up to be with our kids who all were downstate with us for a while, but thought they'd get jobs up here. So probably half of the houses I know are all grandparents who thinks they need to be up by their kids. And then for me, I'd been a golfer all my life, and I golfed in high school and small college. But I obviously went to Oregon State to finish, and that's a Division I, and I'm not a Division I golfer, although I have a son who is. But in the case of most of us up there, we really recognize the importance of the golf course, but it has been, most of us moved up here thinking that there was going to be a clubhouse someday, because I'm used to a clubhouse being a social gathering in the community. And so, when I was playing, almost all the golf courses we went to had either a men's league or a women's league or something, and with that housing development up there, there's so many people have golf carts, and they probably would go down there and do something in the area. So the idea of having a kitchen that you can have somebody, even if it weren't possible, and I was the city manager in Dallas for 25 years, and we did a golf course there. And there's a smaller one, or a bigger one that is over in Cross Creek by Dallas. But we have to be conscious of whether you can afford it or not. When we built the aquatic center, of course, it takes about $500,000 to subsidize it. And a golf course, I'm sure, is going to be there. So I'm torn between what I really would like as a neighbor and what I think you can afford as, at a public organization, because I've been there for about 9 projects in our city. But I think that there'll be a lot of support for a facility. I would suggest that you look at least with the middle, if not the longer one. Because just looking at it, building a clubhouse that isn't really have the amenities for socialization and stuff, I'm not sure that really gives us anything. That's a triple wide. And I've been a lot of courses that did just exactly what you're trying to do, trying to upgrade the clubhouse and make it social. There are a lot of people up there, and most of us either retired or have a good job. So we spend money. I was a member, annual fees for years and years until I got old and couldn't golf anymore. But it really is an amenity that you have in this community. And when we built in Dallas, we put facilities in like you did with the swimming pool, and I've been here 15 years, so I got to see that. That's an amenity that people move here for or want to live here. And so as we look at it, one of the troubles that we've got with the golf course is we haven't finished that clubhouse, and therefore it's not seen the same as other places. But you could get a lot of social structure there. And the idea of having a roof on the driving range is wonderful, because you'd be surprised how many people, well, there's a lot of people drive by, I agree, but there's a lot of people destined for there. And if you can find a clubhouse and the amenities you're talking about, and I won't comment on those because you guys have already said everything I'd say, but it's important to remember what the purpose is. The purpose isn't just to have a clubhouse. The purpose is to have the golf course become an economic draw and a social environment for the community. And that's worth something. But I, again, put my other hat on as city manager, you gotta balance the budget. And, so you have to do what you have to do. But anything you can do to upgrade that facility with the kind of aesthetics that we're talking about, making it someplace, most of us would go down, and I used to go down, my son's a full member at Bend Country Club. So we have a condo at Eagle Crest. And I think of the amenities up there, and we bought our condo because of the golf course and the amenities that they have. So just think of it not just as we'd like a clubhouse, but how is this going to reflect on our success as a community? And you're growing, Newburgh's growing like mad. I mean, if anybody looks at a community that's gonna grow in the next 10 years, is gonna be Newburgh, Sherwood. I mean, we're destined for growth. So with that, that's my comments, and I appreciate your time. And like I said, I wouldn't comment on anything else because you already figured that out.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologize, those who won't be Tina. Tina Smith, I'm a realtor here in Newburgh, but I also live just north of downtown. My thought was, and I've had some background in restaurant experience, and I also do numbers, so I'm a budgeting finance person, so I totally understand all the pieces that you guys are trying to deal with. And I was just looking so maybe the mid-range obviously might be a more feasible option. But I know the restaurant part of the things. Has there been any thought to maybe doing food carts as even if it's a starting point of you have your commercial space ready, maybe it's not filled with equipment yet, because we all know that's really expensive, but maybe starting with the food carts, but then growing that space as time and money permits, and then as you're growing the space as well as the event space, then you can grow and then get that kitchen, and then maybe it is bringing in that restaurant, but now people know there's good food there, there's good social activities there, things like that. Yes, Paul?
Are you talking about a cart or a truck?
Well, a food truck. Food cart, food truck.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
The
sorry,
Newburgh,
yes.
Newburgh Bite expanded.
Yeah. Well, like, and think back, like, down in Dundee, Methvin had Copitos there forever, and it was set. And, I mean, that Methvin wine was good too, but I went there half the time just for the food truck. I mean, you know, and and as a realtor, I bring clients places everywhere, so having options and having trucks, you know, then you can have your coffee truck, your breakfast truck, your lunch truck, or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, Stoller Wine Bar in town, they have seating for a decent amount, and they do that with the food truck right up front. So, I don't know, that might be a way to do it, but not spend a ton of money, not have as much overhead. So, I don't know.
Cool idea.
I want to say it's been talked about in passing, you know, just like hasn't been a lot of emphasis on it, but I could have sworn at some point it was like having different food carts cycle in and out of there, you know.
Some tournaments have two, one, I mean,
The icy truck comes in.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other?
Quick one.
Sure.
Nick Conan.
I will mention, they're gonna present at your next board meeting too. But you're welcome to speak here, but I just wanted you to know.
Well, I'll speak and maybe ask this question again, give you guys some time to think about it. Speaking strictly, so taking out the idea of a restaurant, was there anything missing from the base plan versus the mid plan, from your guys' perspective, that you wish you would have seen?
From the base,
From the
So the base plan
Base
to the
to
mid
mid.
plan, other than expanded restaurant and restaurant seating, was there anything that they did not include that you would have liked to see?
Richard, can you scroll up to that?
primarily space,
Yeah. Okay.
square footage. I mean, it's like too small for what we envisioned of it being. So that's the 2 cents that I have on that.
One of the things I know we talked about early on was the
Yeah,
a changing room, a clubhouse type thing that didn't come up in any of the three
locker
options.
room.
The locker room. So that's why I like your idea of converting the existing double wide into a nice
Yeah.
Going,
locker room.
Hmm.
yeah, a few more, 6 more maybe.
Is it triple?
I just should have trademarked that if I
Triple.
started that 5 years ago.
Triple wide.
Is it triple?
So that's mid, and then one more up.
Yeah, it's that floor
Come
plan.
on, one more.
I'll,
Yeah, right there.
I mean, well, it's
That's
not,
the base floor plan.
yeah, well, it's not, I mean, restaurant, bar, I mean, I just know, looking over the surveys, that we got in the Dropbox and online, like the amount of people that wanted full bar service. That was something that was expressed a lot. So, I mean, whether that's, you know, just doing more than what's being done right now, so.
Can I have one more comment?
Sure, you can yell it and we'll just
Yeah,
repeat
you
it.
just yell it here.
Well, while Roger goes up there, I wanted to ask Joe and the rest of those a question about the full bar service. Do you think it's for a drink, or do you think it's as a place to socialize?
Yes.
Both,
Social.
yeah,
Socialize.
yeah, but yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, in my opinion, we kind of do that now in our
Yeah,
triple
we
wide.
do.
You know, I think that would grow exponentially in a nicer facility.
Okay, just, I know for Michael, I kind of want to get a handle on the value that's represented by certain amenities when people talk about things. I think Steve's got a question, but also Roger was gonna knock
I'd
up
be
anymore.
remiss if I didn't talk about lighting,
Oh,
for the
Roger,
neighborhood.
would you go to the mic to do that, so the folks that might be online can hear it?
Oh.
Or the recording in case Michael needs to go back and look at things later.
Thank you for the record.
And then
Roger
Steve, if you've got a
Jordan.
comment or question after that.
I got one more on the
Great.
record.
Remember that this is situated in the middle of a residential area too. So I've been to places that have lighting, and somebody had a good idea when they built the facility, because if you look where the clubhouse now and where you're proposing, but more importantly, the driving range, if that were lighted, neighbors are not gonna say anything.
Right.
But if you were to light the golf course somehow, thinking that you're gonna have lighted golf course, I would imagine many of my neighbors would be concerned. Remember, we're golfing mainly in the summertime, so it stays till 10 o'clock.
Today.
There are people going by the house, and it doesn't bother me, but can think of 3 or 4 public hearings up there that I've had where it would be a nightmare hearing to have as a city manager, having lighted golf course. So just representing the neighborhood, I think there would be a lot of pushback if you tried to light the golf course.
Thank you.
Speaking from a friend who lives in like Arizona, they did that for one course, and that was a pain.
Yeah.
And how much it costs too.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
We live
Yeah.
golf fields.
Oh no, no, yeah, go ahead. I was just answering that. Yeah.
Do we need another introduction? Steve Paulson, the Greens. Roger, my wife grew up with his kids in Dallas. Heard a lot about him over the whole years. Lived next to him for a long time in the neighborhood. My question and a comment regarding the infrastructure really surrounds. I know for a fact. A week ago today, we had several elected officials in Washington D.C. meeting with National Transportation Director Duffy, asking and seeking for funding to complete phase 3 of the bypass. I know that for a fact. So with that, my question is, with this project, is it either contingent upon or separate from, independently standing on its own, regardless of a third 9 construction or the bypass? In other words, can this clubhouse and get everybody excited, which, believe me, again, I'm on the record, I want to be wrong. I want this to happen. We moved there over 10 years ago. I love golf. Everybody knows that. I just don't have faith that it will get done, but I hope it does. But will this and can this happen as it states for the public, so everybody gets their hopes up, with or without a third 9 constructed and regardless of the completion of the bypass? That's my question.
I can answer that.
We know.
So in answer to that question, the study is being done with the assumption that the third 9 gets built, because that has so far been the direction from the board. So the board's got the additional third 9 as part of its strategic planning priorities, and so this was specifically scoped to contemplate its use with the third 9. Depending on the data that's in there, if we needed to do an amendment because some change happened in the future, we would probably go back to the economists specifically that have been involved with it to see if it could stand alone if that wasn't involved. It sounded like you were mostly asking about the third 9, less so the bypass impacts, correct? Okay. So that's how we scoped it, with the anticipation that we've got marching orders that we're anticipating that the third 9 is expected to pay for itself much more readily than the clubhouse itself. So that we built in the assumption that the third 9 would happen for that reason. So that was the rationale there. So do we know? No, and that's not how we scoped it. But that's the direction that we have thus far.
So since you scoped it with it, thank you. Since you did scope it with the third 9, would that be like a package deal then? Would the clubhouse and the third 9 theoretically go up at the same time?
That's the thinking.
That's
That
the
if
thinking, okay.
if and when we chose to do it, then we would do it under those conditions.
Gotcha.
Because mobilizing twice seems hard.
Yeah, thank you.
So
And the bypass affects
Standalone.
one. It wouldn't affect any of
I'm
this.
not off 05, I know, seen the plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on the calls
Yeah.
all over ODOT.
All right. Any other? Michael, do we answer all your questions and probably added a pile of stuff to your list that you weren't thinking about?
All good.
do you want people to come up and find you after the meeting breaks up?
Well, we should probably point out that you're going to repeat this presentation on Friday at the golf course.
And I was
Is
gonna
there a
make
repeat?
and I was gonna make a plug for Michael, and he can add in anything he wants to on this. But I would challenge the golf course committee members to send at least 3 people that you know to that, each of you, not collectively. Each of you send 3 to the meeting on Friday, and then anyone in the audience, if you could send 1, then we'll have a great turnout. So,
It won't be the exact presentation. I think we'll have some boards or posters up, and it'll be an open house, so people will be coming and going. So it won't be like a presentation like we did today.
and we are hoping that by the folks being able to come down to the golf course, they'll be able to see and kind of get a view for the context, like when Michael talked about how that shifting of the site affects the visibility and those sorts of things, that people can visualize what a clubhouse of that space would look like, and also get a sense of those sites and site designs. So we're really excited about it.
Excellent. Michael, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll move on our agenda to close out the comments from board liaisons.
Board
Jim, I
meeting.
think that's you.
I do appreciate all the work you've done. I know it's exciting for the community to see something moving forward, whatever that's going to be. But a couple questions I had, one of those is concerning zoning on that next 9. Did you check into that pretty thoroughly concerning ag and so on and so forth? In case you might be able to help here a little bit. I just wanna make sure, I know that we had some challenges when we built the golf course we have now concerning zoning and what we could put on there. And have you looked at that at all?
Our scope did not include looking at that, it was just to assume that it was gonna happen.
Okay, so we can't assume, I don't think, and I'm sure Clay will look into this, is we need to know, what we may face and not do a lot of work and find out we have other issues we have to deal with. The other thing is that, and I'm not sure you were asked, I haven't seen the numbers, which I'm excited to see whatever plan you decide to go with. Because at the end of the day, the Park District will have to, or the taxpayers will either have to fund this, go to a revenue bond. I'm not sure which way that'll be, or a general obligation bond. I'm not sure which way we'll go. But we're also not only gonna have to build a new golf course, we're gonna have to pay off the debt too. So we have 2 costs there that we have to look at. And that's why I'm excited to see what we have in the financial. And that's what, my job is for the taxpayers. As far as wanting it or having it or needing it, I think it's great. I think it'd be great to have, but we gotta look at all those numbers. So I'm excited to see we got this far. Thank you.
If we take your excitement, like you had with the swimming, the aquatic center, this is good, this is a done deal. So we like you being on our side, but, think in that direction.
I am
To get
thinking that
that thing
direction.
done.
It's just the difference is in the funding of that,
The
is
numbers.
the way we have to think.
Yeah, I believe you went on, the tax to the
The
public.
voters, we put it out to a general obligation bond and the voters said yes.
And this, what we did here, as you know, was a revenue bond.
Correct.
That's not part of the.
Correct, so the
tax-
board will have to talk about that. And
Yes, okay.
and we'll have to see what the interest rates are at this time and all those good things to do with building, so, thank you.
Comments from staff? Hi, Julie. Come out from the back 40 and say hi.
I'm Julie Peterson. I'm the Special Services Supervisor here at the district. What about putting golf simulator bays in the double wide? Would that be something that, if you reconfigure that?
I guess this is not, doesn't have
It's not
a
big
tall
enough?
ceiling.
Not-
Okay, I was wondering about that. Okay, I'm just always looking for ways to make money, and we go to that Loft and Lies in McMinnville.
Right.
Have you ever
Oh,
been
yeah.
there? It's really fabulous, yeah.
It is.
I just think that would bring people that weren't golfers, maybe, because I know one of those bays at Loft and Lies has different sports. I think they have soccer, golf, and, I was just thinking that might be an idea to bring, someone other than golfers out there, so.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Casey, Kellen, or Clay?
I don't have much to add. We've kind of given our feedback to Michael and his team over the last couple months. So a lot of our input was baked into this.
Awesome.
So
Yeah, and I would just add that we really appreciate everything that, from the golf club, from the CAC, and from you guys coming here and spending so much time and giving it some thoughtful look, as well as the survey and all the work that was done in the report that led up to it. So we did transmit that to the consultant, so they could use it and put it to good use.
Awesome.
And thanks to everyone that came in and tuned in and listened, and, yeah, thank you.
Real quick, do we have a rough date? I'm sorry if I missed it, as far as an estimated time of completion for the feasibility study?
Michael?
Like a ballpark?
Sure.
So our intention is to have the concept design phase, which is what we're in now, done and presented by the first week of February, and then be done with the design development phase for that selected or chosen scheme, end of March, first part of April.
Did you give that to you?
No.
Pretty sure you did. Okay. All right, well,
That one.
I think to give more say it again.
That would have been something you would have added when we added new business to the agenda.
I know.
It's not that on the agenda.
I heard what I heard, and I thought, these people don't know as much as we know.
Well,
Okay.
okay.
Well, I'll wait until next
Okay,
time.
thank you. Date for the next meeting, it sounds like the concept plan will be done early February, and we typically meet the second Monday. So do we want to meet that
The second Tuesday.
second Tuesday?
Yeah.
No, second Monday. Today's Monday, isn't
Sorry, I
it?
just said, saw Tuesday there somewhere.
Oh, I think we changed the
Oh,
meeting
we changed it because of,
so that we could make
Kellen.
it so Kellen wasn't cutting it quite so tight.
Right.
I have one more month of practice, so I can make it work next month, and then I wouldn't have practice on Monday night. So, sorry for the confusion, but we can just keep it on Mondays if that works.
What was,
best
what
for
was the
everybody's
initial
schedules.
request, because we did it during the last meeting?
Everybody agreed.
It was
Tuesday.
requested to move to Thursday, which was gonna be changed, but after this meeting, I believe.
Oh, was it Thursday?
Tuesday or Thursday?
So do we just wanna roll on to the new schedule that was voted on last time?
Yeah.
Okay,
So Thursday.
We have that in the minutes, so
Yeah.
we know
Yes.
exactly
Okay.
which one.
so next regular, so what's the date on that, since I'm not looking at it, what do we say in the minutes?
We didn't say. Minutes. Did you get the minutes there? Page 2. And now for the rest of the story.
February 2nd? No, excuse me, the second Tuesday or Thursday?
Second Thursday is the 12th.
Okay, it's a 12th.
February 12th? Okay. Would you have time to make that presentation for the selected alternative? Selected concept that's moving into design for,
We could always place a hold there, and if it's not available, then we would just bump it to the following month, or do a special meeting with the committee.
because the idea when we rolled this RFP out was to be able to get the design development documents and the cost, preferred alternative cost to the board in time to make it for the fiscal year budget 26, 27, so.
How about this? So we can schedule it for the regular meeting, and then if it's not gonna be available in time, then we can cancel your regular meeting and schedule a special meeting of
That
the
works.
committee, of the CAC, if that
Okay.
makes sense, because then we'll know the date by then. Does that seem reasonable, Michael?
You
I don't
good
wanna
with
put
that?
too much pressure on you, I
Okay.
just want it to work.
So a tentative hold for February 12th, but we'll communicate on timing.
We'll have preliminary pricing for the 3 schemes by the 12th next month. And then it'll be better pricing when we narrow it down to a single scheme in the DD phase.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, final comments from the committee. Roger?
No.
Okay, I've got nothing.
All good?
Roger's not here. Roger's on a cruise somewhere, right? With that, we will adjourn the meeting and maybe see you next month. If not, we'll have a special meeting we'll coordinate on.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.